Let me give you the honest answer up front, and then spend the rest of this earning it. AI is probably not going to take your whole job. It's already taking pieces of it, and for a smaller group of people, those pieces add up to the whole thing. That's the real shape of what's happening, and it's stranger than either side of the argument usually admits. The headlines say a robot is coming for your desk. The comfort blanket says every new technology creates more work than it destroys, so relax. Both of them are hiding the actual mechanism, which is this. An AI doesn't apply for your job. It performs tasks. Your job is a bundle of tasks. And the question that decides your future is which tasks in your particular bundle a machine can now do, and what's left for you once it does. Start with why the fear isn't stupid, because the numbers really are big. In early 2023, Goldman Sachs put out the estimate that went around the world. Generative AI could expose as many as 300 million full-time jobs to automation, with about 2/3 of jobs in the US and Europe touched in some way. Around the same time, OpenAI's own researchers published a paper with the deadpan title, "GPTs are GPTs." They found that roughly 80% of American workers hold jobs where at least 10% of their tasks could be handled by a language model, and that about 1 in 5 workers could see fully half of their tasks affected. Then, in January 2024, the International Monetary Fund went global and said nearly 40% of jobs worldwide are exposed to AI, climbing to about 60% in rich countries like the United States. 3 institutions, 3 enormous numbers. If you only read the headlines, it sounds like half the working world is about to be handed a cardboard box. But look closely at the word every one of those studies actually uses. Not replaced, exposed. Affected. Those are careful words, and the care is the whole story. Exposed doesn't mean your job disappears. It means some slice of what you do all day can now be done by a machine. And that distinction, task versus job, is where almost every frightening prediction quietly falls apart. Economists even have a name for the mistake. They call it confusing the automation of tasks with the elimination of jobs. A job isn't one thing. It's a bundle. A lawyer reads documents, yes, but also calms a frightened client, reads a room, and takes responsibility for being wrong. A radiologist reads scans, but also consults, decides, and signs their name under the decision. When a machine takes over one strand of that bundle, the job doesn't vanish. It gets rewoven around whatever is left. The cleanest illustration is a story about cash machines. When ATMs spread across America, everyone assumed bank tellers were finished. The opposite happened, at least at first. Between the 1980s and 2010, banks installed something like 400,000 ATMs, and across that same stretch, the number of tellers actually went up, from roughly 500,000 to around 600,000. The economist James Besson dug into why, and the answer is that the ATM didn't delete the teller's job. It deleted one task, counting out cash, which happened to be the most tedious and expensive part. Handling cash got cheap, so branches got cheaper to run, so banks opened more of them, and the teller's work rebundled around the things a machine in the wall couldn't do. Opening accounts, selling loans, untangling the strange problem you walked in with. The task was automated. The job was reinvented. The honest coda is that tellers did eventually decline, years later, once the smartphone let you do the human parts of banking yourself. So the lesson isn't that jobs are safe forever. It's that they change shape before they ever disappear. So is this just the comforting story dressed up in a suit? No. And here's where I want to be straight with you, because something genuinely new is showing up in the data. In August 2025, a team of Stanford economists led by Eric Brynjolfsson did the first large-scale look at real payroll records since ChatGPT arrived, and they found a fingerprint. Young workers, ages 22 to 25, in the occupations most exposed to AI, had seen their employment fall by about 13% relative to everyone else. In the hardest-hit corners, entry-level software engineering and customer service, the drop was closer to 20%. And the tell that this was really AI, and not just a soft economy, was who got spared. In the very same jobs, workers over 30 didn't merely hold steady. Their employment grew. The machine wasn't coming for the profession. It was coming for the bottom rung. Why the youngest? Because a language model's great strength is exactly the thing a new graduate sells. Fresh textbook knowledge, the standard answer, a competent first draft. What it can't yet do is the thing you only earn from years on the job, the judgment, the taste, the sense of when the standard answer is quietly wrong. And the Stanford team found one more thing that matters more than all the rest. The job losses were concentrated where companies used AI to automate the work, to do it instead of the person. Where they used it to augment the work, to help a person do more, entry-level employment held steady or even rose. Same technology, opposite result. The deciding factor wasn't the model. It was the choice of how to point it. Anthropic, which makes the Claude assistant, publishes a running measure of how people actually use it, and through late 2025, it hovers near half and half. A little over half of all use is collaboration, a little under half is full handoff. The economy is deciding that ratio in real time. Now the part that should genuinely change how you think about your own risk. Every previous wave of automation climbed the ladder from the bottom. Machines took the physical, the routine, and the repetitive first, which is why the advice for 40 years never changed. Move up into knowledge work, into an office, get the degree, and you'll be safe. This wave walked in through the top floor instead. Go back to that OpenAI study, and the exposure rises with income. The higher your salary and the more schooling your job demanded, the more of your tasks a language model can touch. Goldman found the same shape, with office and administrative work and legal work near the front of the line, and construction and repair near the back. The plumber and the electrician are, for now, sitting in the safest seats in the building, while the paralegal, the junior analyst, the copywriter, and yes, the entry-level coder are the ones who feel the floor moving. The old advice, learn to code, wasn't wrong for its time. It just described the last war. So where does this actually settle? For that, the most useful number I know comes from the economist David Otter, who went through 80 years of U.S. Census records and found that about 60% of the jobs Americans held in 2018 didn't exist in 1940. Not the companies, the job titles themselves. Nobody in 1940 was a web developer or a sleep clinic technician or a solar installer, because the work hadn't been invented yet. That's the pattern automation really follows over the long haul. It doesn't shrink the total amount of work. It kills specific jobs and quietly invents whole categories nobody saw coming. And the new categories tend to grow right next to whatever the new machine just made cheap. The World Economic Forum's 2025 survey of 1,000 employers tries to put a figure on the next 5 years, and it lands on churn, not collapse. About 92 million roles displaced by 2030, about 170 million created, a net gain of 78 million. The catch is buried in the same report. Around 40% of the skills those jobs rely on are expected to change inside that window. The work doesn't run out. The ground just moves under your feet, and faster than it used to. Which brings us back to the honest answer I opened with. Will AI take your job? Almost certainly not all of it, and probably not soon. What it will do, what it's already doing, is reach into your particular bundle of tasks and pull out the ones that are pure pattern. The standard document, the routine reply, the first draft, the lookup. If your job is mostly those tasks, it's going to feel like the job itself is under threat, because for you it genuinely is. If your job is those tasks plus the things a model still can't reach, the deciding, the caring, the being in the room, the being accountable when it all goes wrong, then the machine is less a replacement than a very fast, very confident junior assistant who never gets tired and never quite gets it. The real question was never whether AI can do your job. It can't, not the whole thing. The question is which parts of your job are the pattern and which parts are the judgment, and whether you're spending your days drifting toward the half a machine can copy or the half it still can't reach. That choice, unlike the technology, is still entirely yours.